Hey everyone, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this. My name is Era Quinn, and at 29 I learned a harsh lesson. Family ties can bind tighter than any rope. I had twin boys, just months old, delicate lives needing gentle hands and warm milk. All I asked was for one night of help while I faced a critical surgery. But instead of support, my parents and brother offered only rejection, cloaked in flimsy excuses. Picture this, me lying in a hospital bed, the hum of fluorescent lights overhead, the sharp sting of antiseptic in the air. The nurse's shoes squeaked on the linoleum as she asked, "Do you have someone to look after your babies during recovery?" My throat tightened because the answer was no. I wanted to scream, to sob, to ask why their love came with conditions, why I had to earn their care with silence and gratitude. But I just pressed my lips shut, tasting blood. They thought I was absurd for asking them to miss an Adele concert. "You expect us to babysit when Adele's in town? Don't be absurd." My mother's voice came through the phone, cool but slicing, laced with a cruelty that cut deeper than any blade. She didn't pause. She didn't care that I was hours from surgery, tethered to IVs, gripping my stitched-up belly from an emergency C-section, pleading for help. I stared at my phone, her words looping in my mind like a stuck tape. "You're always a burden. Always a hassle." My parents and brother chose a concert over me bleeding on a table, over my baby's fragile breaths in the night. In that moment, something in me hardened, cold, clear, unshakable. I stopped begging. I found a sitter, a stranger whose brief call showed more warmth than my family ever had. She cradled my boys while I was pieced back together, while my parents swayed to music under stage lights, and my brother posted it all on social media. 3 weeks later, my surgical scars still raw, silence haunting my home like an uninvited guest, there came a knock. 3 sharp raps that broke the quiet of my living room. My twins stirred in their bassinets, tiny hands curling in sleep. I froze, pulse pounding in my throat. I wasn't expecting anyone. Moving slowly, stitches pulling, I peeked through the peephole. My mother stood there, pale, worn, almost frantic. My brother lingered behind her, arms crossed, shifting nervously on the concrete. I cracked the door just enough for my voice to slip out. "What do you want, Alera?" My mother's voice shook, so different from her icy dismissal weeks before. "We need to talk, Era. It's urgent." I stared, the memory of hospital lights and antiseptic air burning in my mind, her voice calling me a problem. "You abandoned me when I needed you most," I said, steady as I could manage. "Why are you here now?" My brother sighed, rubbing his temple. "It's Dad. There's a problem. We need your help." The irony nearly made me laugh. They weren't there when I was bleeding, when I feared I wouldn't make it. Yet here they were, demanding again. "Help," I echoed, letting the word linger like a bitter taste. "Yes," my mother pushed, glancing at my babies inside. "You've always been capable. We can't do this alone." That entitlement again, the assumption I existed to fix their chaos, to hold up their crumbling world. I leaned against the doorframe, body aching but resolve firm. "You made your choice that concert night." Their silence confirmed they remembered. I didn't shut the door. Not yet. Part of me wanted to see how far their desperation would stretch. Sometimes revenge begins not with a slam, but with a crack left open, just enough to watch them unravel. My mother's hands twisted her purse straps until they groaned. My brother avoided my gaze, his jaw tight like he was grinding stones. Then she spoke. "Your father, he was scammed. The money, Era, it's all gone." The words hung like broken shards. I blinked, not shocked by the loss, but by the absurdity. For years, my father bankrolled my brother's fleeting ventures, his lavish trips, while mocking my quiet stability, my lack of ambition. Now their pride had collapsed. I crossed my arms, pain flaring in my chest. "And this matters to me, why?" My brother's eyes finally met mine, sharp with shame. "Because you've got savings. You're good with money. We need you to cover us until we figure this out." A bitter chuckle escaped me. My twins stirred, their soft breaths reminding me of nights I wept alone, rocking them. These people who left me stranded on an operating table now wanted my lifeline. You mean you want me to save you? I said softly. After you picked a concert over my children's safety? My mother flinched. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I cut in. Silence fell. A car passed outside, its headlights carving their faces, showing the panic etched into their skin. I thought of the sitter's kind smile, her hands holding my son's when my family wouldn't. I thought of the sting in my stitches as I paid her, money once given freely to my parents. Now they wanted more. Always more. I stepped back, door still ajar, voice calm. Tell me everything. Every detail of how you lost it. If they wanted my help, they'd have to spill the truth first. My mother's voice broke as she started. Your father invested. It seemed safe. A friend connected him to this group, promised huge returns. They had offices, legal papers, everything. I saw the story unfolding. My father, proud and greedy, chasing the big win. How much? I asked, voice flat. My brother shifted. $150,000. All of Dad's savings, even some of my accounts. The number struck like a blow. More than he'd ever offered me. More than he thought I deserved when I begged for help with my twins' medical bills. Yet he'd handed it to con artists without a second thought. My jaw tightened. So he gave everything to scammers while calling me a burden. That's rich. My mother winced at my tone. Era, please. We didn't know it was a scam until the bank called. The accounts are frozen. Investigators say it's international. We might lose the house. And I tilted my head. My brother's temper flared. Stop acting like you're above us. You've always had it easy, hoarding money, being selfish. I nearly laughed. Easy? Sleepless nights with crying babies, torn stitches, working from bed to survive, watching my family chase concerts while I bled alone. I stepped closer, voice sharp but low. No, Alex. I don't think I'm better. I just stopped letting you bleed me dry. They stared, silent, waiting for mercy I wasn't sure I had. In that silence, I realized this wasn't just their collapse, it was my liberation. For the first time, I held the power, and they knew it. I half closed the door, letting their panic cling to the threshold. Come back tomorrow, I said, with proof. The next night, as I settled the twins, headlights swept my window. A car door slammed, then another. The knock came, heavy, impatient. My brother thrust a folder at me when I opened the door. Here's your proof. I took it to the kitchen table, their footsteps trailing like ghosts. My mother clutched her coat, eyes flickering to the bassinets where my boys slept. She stayed quiet. I opened the folder. Contracts, glossy brochures, photos of sleek offices with smiling investors. Then I saw it. My brother's signature, bold and careless, next to my father's. And loan applications. 3 of them. My name neatly typed as guarantor. Forged. The air left me. You forged my name. My brother flinched. It was just paperwork. No one was meant to get hurt. You thought. I hissed, slamming the folder shut. You gambled with my life, my credit, my children's future. My mother's voice cracked. We didn't know he'd do that. But her words rang hollow. She'd always looked away when it suited her. I stood, the chair scraping the tile like a blade. So, while I fought for my life on an operating table, you weren't just at a concert. You were dragging my name into your lies. Neither spoke. My brother's arrogance crumbled into shame. I looked at them, people who'd call me a burden, a problem. And now they needed me to fix their mess, built on my stolen name. For a moment, I saw their crumbling world. The house they might lose, the fear in my mother's face, the hollow look in my brother's eyes. But then I thought of my twins, innocent, deserving better than this cycle of betrayal. I handed the folder back. Leave, I said, cold, before I called the police. They didn't go quietly. My brother's face twisted. You think you can just shut us out? We're family. His voice rose, and my twins stirred. Heat surged in me. Lower your voice, I snapped. But he didn't. He slammed the folder back on the table. If you don't help, they'll come for you too. Those loans have your name. You'll sink with us. The threat hung like poison. My mother gasped, Alex, stop. But her eyes betrayed her fear of his truth. I held his stare, heart pounding. You forged my name. If I go down, you're coming with me. And I won't protect you this time. My mother tried again, voice breaking. Era, please, for your father. He's sick with worry. This could destroy him. A bitter laugh escaped. You mean his pride? He valued money more than his daughter bleeding in a hospital. Silence swallowed the room. I could have slammed the door forever, but a colder part of me knew this wasn't done. They were desperate, and desperate people lash out. I leaned forward, voice low. You want me involved? Fine, but on my terms. Every document, every call, every word goes through me. Lie once, and I'll bear you with the truth. My brother's eyes flickered with fear and rage. My mother nodded too fast, relief flooding her. But I wasn't helping, I was setting a trap. If they wanted me in this mess, they'd regret it. They left that night, their promises fragile as tissue paper. I watched them go, the porch light stretching their shadows thin across my floor. My twins slept on, unaware of the storm we were weaving. I sat at the kitchen table until dawn, the folder pushed aside like a guilty secret. I traced their lies, forged forms, loan receipts, notarized stamps from foreign hands. My fingers shook, not with fear but with purpose. I was ready to unravel their world. Step 1. I called the bank, not to plead but to learn. I noted protocols, IDs, names and times, mapping the scam structure, shell companies, offshore accounts, a broker chasing fast cash and faster lies. Step 2. I posted online, neutral, factual, about fraud prevention, tagging local groups. My parents' fragile reputation began to crack as whispers turned to suspicion. Step 3. I contacted the investigator, asking questions that made him curious. My forged name made the case messy, and messy was good. It exposed more than silence ever could. I kept my twins' days steady. Bottles, naps, lullabies. I hired the sitter for evenings, practicing calm for phone calls. Behind the scenes, I laid traps, polite emails, requests for receipts, demands for proof, each a mirror to their lies. My brother called twice. I let it ring. My mother texted, frantic. I didn't reply. I wanted them to feel the slow crumble of their certainty, the same erosion they gave me when they chose stage lights over my stitches. At midnight, a digital knock, a screenshot, a comment, a thread. Neighbors asked questions. My parents' untouchable house had a crack, and from it, everything spilled. The crack grew fast. Whispers became shouts. Neighbors stopped waving. Old friends stopped calling. My father's name, once revered, was now tied to fraud and recklessness. I barely pushed, just a seed of truth, and their arrogance did the rest. 3 nights later, the investigator called. We've traced the documents, the forged signatures. You're cleared, Miss Quinn. We're pursuing the responsible parties. His tone held sympathy and judgment for a family that devoured its own. I hung up, staring at my sleeping sons, breathing free of betrayal's weight for the first time in months. The next morning, they returned. My mother, mascara streaked, my brother pale, my father too frail to leave the car. Era, please, my mother whispered. We've lost everything. We have nowhere else to go. I studied her face, the lips that called me an inconvenience, the hands that dismissed me for a concert. Forgiveness wasn't needed for closure. I opened the door just enough for my voice to slip through, calm and final. You had tickets when I had stitches. You had laughter when I had silence. Now I have peace, and you have consequences. Her eyes shimmered, but I didn't falter. I closed the door softly, without anger, just certainty. My boy's tiny breaths filled the room with a future free of my family's poison. I touched the door, feeling the divide between past and present, and whispered, "This story is done." The house was quiet, but not empty. For the first time, I wasn't alone.